Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Kate, and here on my channel I talk about true crime, mysteries, history, and anything that interests me. Please remember to show your support by liking this video, subscribing to my channel, and hitting that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my future videos. Thank you so much for being here with me. It means the absolute world to me. I don't get many people watching my videos, so thank you very much. Make sure to get cozy, grab some snacks, and let's dive into another true crime story. Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about the beast of Jersey. That's right, there was a beast in Jersey. So residents of the remote Channel Island of Jersey, they were scared. They were so scared that they would find a masked intruder in their homes. There were no alarm systems at the time, and hardly any policemen were around. Home phones, they were easily destroyed by a simple cut of the cord. It was a very scary time for these people. Dozens of women and children were so terrified that this horrible beast would be in their home. The islanders locked their doors, but nothing could stop this boogeyman from entering their homes, and no one would forget his mask. It was absolutely horrifying. That coming into your house in the night, oh my god, I can only imagine. No, I don't really want to imagine. It's terrifying. So Jersey, it's a tiny little island positioned near the coast of northwest France. At only 9 miles wide by 5 miles long, this island is part of the sovereign state of the United Kingdom, and it sits in the channel between England and France. Boasting a mixture of British and French cultures, Jersey is well known for its beautiful beaches, its cliffside walking trails, inland valleys, and historic castles. It is a truly beautiful place, like right up my alley. I love the old historic castles. As beautiful and carefree as life is for the residents on the island, the reputation of Jersey is plagued by a terrifying period between 1957 and 1971, when one man dressed in a terrifying mask haunted the residents. So he would sneak into their homes while they were asleep, and he would commit some horrific crimes on them, that gruesome acts, leaving his mask on this poor island. He would be known as the Beast of Jersey. The terror began one night in 1957. So a nurse was innocently waiting for her bus. She was on her way home after her shift when from out of nowhere in the darkness a figure had snuck up behind her. He beat her over her head, tying a rope around her neck, and then he essayed her in a nearby field. She had been left severely injured, and she required stitches. Months would go by, and in March of that same year, a 20-year-old was walking home from the bus stop near Trinity, and in a shockingly similar fashion, the attacker again used the same method. So he pulled her into a field by her neck and he essayed her. Then in July, a 31-year-old would also later be attacked, and then a 28-year-old in St. Martin's in October of 1959. So after the attacks, the victims gave their statements to the police, and all of them had repetitive themes. It was this one person. They knew. They all confirmed the man was around 5'6", my height, so a short guy, in his mid-40s, and had a strange Irish accent that they believed was fake. They also described him as musty smelling, like mold, that kind of smell. Police agreed that the same man had attacked them all, and this is when he gained the nickname the Beast of Jersey in the media. So despite the police's efforts, they had no leads and they couldn't find any suspects. The attacks continued, and by 1960, the attacker was growing more confident and bold with the way that he operated and the nature of his crimes. So feeling untouchable, he soon began breaking into the homes of residents and essaying them while they slept in their beds. Horrible. You know, you should feel safe in your home. You go to bed, it's like you're in your safe space, and then he just comes in and ruins it. Horrible. No one was safe. On the 14th of February, the Beast of Jersey climbed through a window of a house and into the upstairs bedroom. There was a boy in this room, and he was only 12 years old. When this boy woke up, he saw the man in a mask, and he was standing at the foot of his bed holding a torch to his face, basically blinding him. Because like you go from a dead sleep, wake up and you've got a torch in your face. Horrible. The man placed a rope around the boy's neck and he dragged him outside to a field. This is where he essayed him. I know, it's horrible. So when the assault was over, the man led this poor boy back to his house and he disappeared into the night. In March, a woman was walking to a bus stop and she stopped to speak to a man who had stopped his car and offered her a lift. Never get in. Seriously, never get in. It's like some Ted Bundy vibes. He said that he was a doctor who was on his way to pick up his wife. So this woman, she accepts the ride and she got in and the two drove off. When she turned to speak to the man, she realized that he was wearing a big overcoat, a hat and gloves. She couldn't see his face, and when she understood the mistake that she had made, he had already driven them to a secluded part of the island. This poor woman, he beat her really badly. He punched her so hard in her face and he tied her hands behind her back. Then he led her out of the car into a field where he essayed her. Once he had finished, he led her back to the car and drove off with her in the vehicle. Realizing that this was her chance to escape, this woman bravely jumped out of this moving vehicle, running and screaming. So she got the heck out of there. So brave, jumping from a moving vehicle. Panicked by the noise, the man basically sped away. So she jumps out, makes a ruckus, and he sped away, and he was never tracked down. Later that month, a 43-year-old woman and her 14-year-old daughter were fast asleep in their cottage in a remote part of the island in St. Martin's. The mum woke up after midnight to the phone ringing downstairs. Who rings in the middle of the night? She got out of her bed to answer the call, but there was silence on the other end, followed by a click and the dial tone. Assuming it was a wrong number, she just went back to bed. Then, a little while later, she was woken up again by a noise. She went back downstairs to investigate what the strange sound was. She turned on all the lights so that she could see better, and when she reached the bottom step in her home, the lights went out, and she realized that she wasn't alone. And her daughter's upstairs. She would have been so scared for her child. There was someone in her living room. She picked up the phone to call the police, but the line was dead. The phone line had been cut. The figure in the living room, he sprinted at her. He grabbed her and he demanded her money, and he threatened to kill her. So there was a struggle, of course, and during the struggle there was a bit of noise and it woke up her daughter, and her daughter went to see what was going on. And in seeing the young girl, the man let go of the mum and he lunged up the stairs at full speed, running towards this 14-year-old daughter. The mum was now free and she bolted out the door to her neighbour's house to get help, and she brought them back to her home to catch the intruder. But when they arrived, they found that the daughter was alone. Sadly, she had been tied up and essayed, but luckily she was still alive. What was most terrifying was the manner in which victims reported that the attacker was dressed. He wore an emotionless mask that resembled molten skin. He smelt really bad. He usually wore a long dirty coat tied up with a piece of rope. He wore a shabby wig and homemade cloth like bracelets with nails sticking out of them to like cause damage to people. There were no alarm systems in these residents' homes at the time. Like I said, hardly any police. So it was easy for him to just cut the phone lines and do what he did. It's horrible. Then in April, a 14-year-old girl was woken up by a man in her bedroom. He was watching her sleep. She looks at him and she starts screaming in the hopes that her parents would wake up. And it worked. The parents did wake up and this man fled. Then in July the same year, an 8-year-old boy was kidnapped from his home. I hate these ones. He had a rope tied around his neck and he was led into a nearby field where he was essayed. Oh, I hate those ones. So after the assault, he was taken back to his house and delivered right to his doorstep. This would have been the last assault that year. And that poor boy, my goodness. Investigators realized that the Beast of Jersey had to be a resident of the island because of the frequency of the attacks. They began to interview every man who had a criminal record, but none of them actually fit the description that the victims had made. Officers also requested fingerprints from all the adult males on the island. They had a right to refuse, and 13 of them did. One of the men who refused would later be identified as the culprit. I wish they couldn't refuse. So, desperate to capture the attacker, Jersey police began to look closely at the residents of the island, and one man soon aroused their suspicions. This man was a native who had been born on the island, and he was described as a loner. Yeah, I always struggle to say this name. This man was Alphonse Le Gastrellis, I think that's how you say it, who had worked in the as an agricultural fisherman and had caught the police's attention due to his dirty raincoat, and he tied a bit of rope around it, exactly what the attacker did. So Jersey police, they went in and they arrested Alphonse for the attacks and the essays. They were grasping at straws, and any eccentric characters needed to be looked at. So Alphonse was released after 14 hours of questioning due to lack of evidence. But the thing was, the damage was already done. His name had been given to the press, and his picture was all over the news. So after all of that, an angry mob, they burned down his house, and Alphonse was forced to flee to a group of islands northeast of Jersey. He spent 14 years in self-imposed exile, living off the land, and he scavenged for lobsters, but lobsters are pretty yum. Then in February of 1961, the attacks began again. The islanders knew that Alphonse had been innocent because he had died in June of 2012 at the age of 97. It's just so sad that he was treated so freaking bad just to be found innocent. He didn't do it and they treated him like crap. They burned down his house. The Beast of Jersey's pattern had also changed, and instead of attacking different generations, he solely targeted children. I know, I hate it when it's children. So children were being taken from their homes and attacked, and by this point the local police, they were at a loss. They didn't know what to do next, so they called in the Scotland Yard to help with this investigation, which they should have done a long time before. So Scotland Yard told residents that they needed to start looking out for each other and set up neighbourhood watches to keep each other safe. This guy was after their kids. They need to protect their children. And they did. They tried. They also created a profile of the attacker from the descriptions that were made by the surviving victims. Despite the profile, investigators, or these new ones, also hit a dead end. There was dead end after dead end, and eventually the attacks, they stopped again for a couple of years. So after 2 years, in April of 1963, a 9-year-old boy was the next victim of this disgusting masked man. He was taken from his house and taken into a field. He had a rope put around his neck and he was sodomized. As before with the other victims, he was brought home again after the attack. In November, the same happened to an 11-year-old boy. In 1964, during July and August, a 10-year-old girl and a boy of the same age were attacked in their homes as well. These poor children. Then in 1966, the police received a letter from the Beast of Jersey. I'm going to read it. Okay, so it says, this is what this dickhead said. "My dear sir, I think that it is just the time to tell you that you are just wasting your time, as every time I have done what I always intended to do, and remember, I will not stop at this. But I will be fair to you and give you a chance. I have never had much out of this life, but I intend to get everything I can now. I have always wanted to do the perfect crime. I have done this, but this time let the moon shine very bright in September, because this time it must be perfect. No one, not one, but two. I am not a maniac by a long shot, but I like to play with you people. You will hear from me before September, and I will give you all the clues, just to see if you can catch me. Yours very sincerely, wait and see." What a horrible piece of crap. That's just shit, man. This guy. Okay, so in August, a 15-year-old girl, she was brutally assaulted in her home. But the attack was different this time. The girl's body was covered in long scratches that were perfectly dispersed in parallel lines. After this attack, there were no more incidents for 4 years. So he goes quiet for quite a while. So in August of 1970, he finally returned. A 14-year-old boy woke up from his sleep, fast asleep in his own bed, to a torch shining in his face. He was attacked just like the others before him. But this time, when he was being led back to his house, the masked man spoke to him. He told this boy to stay quiet, because if you don't, someone will harm your mother and your father. So when the boy's parents found him, he was noticeably distraught. He was upset. He was horrified by what had happened to him, but he wouldn't speak about what had happened. Eventually, he did tell them, and he was taken to the hospital, where an examination showed that he too had those same scratches down his torso that had covered the girl 4 years earlier. In addition, the boy told the police that the man had spiky black hair and was wearing a frightening mask. Then on the 10th of July 1970, 2 officers were cruising around the island on their regular night patrol. It was almost midnight when they stopped at a red light in the St. Helier district when a car ran the stoplight. Terrible timing to do that when there's a cop around. So the officers, they took off after him. He was trying desperately to get away. He actually drove on the wrong side of the road and went up an embankment and onto footpaths, but he did eventually crash into a hedge before coming to a stop in a tomato field. So the driver ended up getting out of his vehicle and he began to run, and the officers, they chased after him on foot. He was eventually tackled to the ground and arrested. So on the ride to the police station, officers noticed that he smelled musty, like that mold smell those victims were talking about. And when they were finally under a bright light, like at the police station, they saw the man's appearance for the very first time because it was dark. He was wearing a long dark coat with inch-long nails and screws sticking out of the collar, also the cuffs and shoulders. These were what made the marks on the young girl and boy. They also found a spiky black wig and a mask that he had been using to terrorize his victims. The man would soon be identified as Edward Paisnel. They had finally caught their man after all those years, because he's a doofus and he ran a stoplight. Born in 1925, 46-year-old Edward was a family man. He had a wife and he had children. He worked in construction and he came from a wealthy family. He didn't have a criminal record, but he had been imprisoned for a month during World War II by German officers when he stole food for starving families. His wife Joan had run a foster home for children and met Edward when he helped out as a handyman there. Edward played Santa Claus at the foster home and the kids called him Uncle Ted. When questioned about the outfit that he was wearing and why he was speeding, he told the investigators that he was going to an orgy and didn't want to be recognized. As for the nails, he said that he added those in case he was attacked by someone who knew martial arts. He sounds weird. He refused to talk about the mask and the wig. I wonder why. Edward was remanded in custody and officers were sent to search his house. You guys know what remanded means, eh? He was kept in a cell. So once in the house, they found a locked secret room inside his bedroom. It smelled of like that musty smell, and they found old clothing and homemade wigs complete with matching false eyebrows. It was creepy as they discovered a camera and photographs of houses across the island. So he was scoping places out. Investigators believed that he had been planning his attacks for years and had many more lined up. When they asked Edward about the photographs, he eventually told them he chose his victims years before he committed the crimes. He knew specific details about these families and their houses, and he knew which windows to climb into and which night to commit his horrific crimes. They also found his shrine to Satan, which included an altar, a sword, and an extensive collection of books about black magic and the occult. Yeah, so they held him for a while, and then eventually his trial started. So on the 29th of November 1971, it took a jury only 38 minutes, that's right, 38 minutes, to find him guilty of 13 counts of the R word, indecent assault, and sodomy against 6 of his victims. He was sentenced to 30 years in Winchester Prison in the UK. Joan, his second wife, who he married in 1959, claimed that their marriage had been a sham. The couple lived separate lives and were no longer intimate. Joan described Edward as having a very low sex drive, yet he did have a mistress at the time of his arrest, who had been identified as Florence Hawkins, and they would go on to marry in 1989 while Edward was actually in prison. So she stuck with him. I don't know why. Why would you stick with him, honestly? Edward was released in 1991 after 20 years served for good behaviour. I know, it's so bloody annoying. He tried to move back to Jersey, but because, you know, what he did, he wasn't welcome there, and they basically chased him away. Instead, he moved to the Isle of Wight and died 3 years later from a heart attack in 1994. I say good riddance, and I hope it hurt. Although the official statistic sits at 13, people, like a lot of people, believe that Edward is guilty of a lot more crimes, particularly those uncovered in Operation Rectangle. So in 2008, a former children's home on the island of Jersey hit the headlines worldwide after it was reported that police had discovered what they thought to be fragments of human bones and a skull. They would go on to find 65 human teeth and in total 170 bone fragments. So they think it was bones for a skull as well. So it's not the full skull, it's like bone fragments. But things were not entirely as they seemed. So the skull fragments turned out to be neither bone or human. The teeth were concluded as being milk teeth that had been naturally shed, and only 3 of the bone fragments were human and dated back as far as 1450. So way before any of this. Way before. They may have not found evidence of murder, but it brought a light to a catalogue of abuse. All sorts of abuse. There was sexual abuse, there was physical abuse, psychological abuse at this children's home and other Jersey children's homes stretching back to the end of the Second World War. These kids were being treated horribly. So Edward had been linked to the abuse with a report stating that there are numerous references to him visiting these children's homes, both legitimately and under more sinister circumstances. Remember, he played Santa? Oh, gross. It's claimed that he was a regular visitor to the children's home, even dressing up as Santa, like I just said, for these kids, and they thought he was great. It has also been claimed that he was employed there at one time as well to undergo painting and decorating work, so he had access to kids. Edward had also been accused of abusing a lot of children in all different children's homes. Yeah. And there was one that, there was a children's home that was founded by his mother-in-law, Florence's mum. It was also where he met his wife Joan while working as a handyman and doing odd jobs and repair work. So the home that I'm talking about now, it closed down in 2012. A witness said that Edward told girls at the home to call him Uncle Ted and would sit them on his knee before he would start abusing them. Another witness claimed that he would use chloroform on the children before removing them from their beds, and that there was an evil atmosphere that radiated from this children's home. However, a police file states that there was no firm evidence to hand in the investigation that Edward was responsible for any abuse at the children's home. But if you look at what he'd done, his crimes, I wouldn't put it past him. Where there's smoke, there's fire, right? Edward would take long breaks between his crimes, which also helped to take the heat off him. Police would have several questions to contend with. So it was like, was this the end? If so, why? Had he died? Had he been imprisoned on another charge? Had he moved away? They were questioning it, like, why did he take so many long breaks at the time? How could he go from, a bunch of attacks in a month to nothing for 4 years? Chances are he did not. The links to the children's homes probably explain away these gaps. He was not stalking the streets or committing home invasions during this time. He was preying on the residents of Jersey's children's homes instead. So on the 31st of December 1966, the body of 20-year-old Tula Hoek was found at the entrance to a field in the parish of St. Clement on the island of Jersey. She was last seen waiting at a bus stop in Georgetown, St. Xavier, on the 30th of December 1966. It was around 8 p.m. and she was on her way to visit her friends. It was raining heavy, and police have theorized if this led to her accepting a lift. Sorry, my cat. It gave me a fright. I didn't think my cat was down here. Oh my god. Maggie! She scared the crap out of me. So a lone woman waiting at a bus stop, her, being found in a field. Does that sound familiar? Tula had died as a result of severe head injuries, which had been delivered with a blunt instrument. The police investigation was extensive, but the case has never been solved. There was a cold case review in 2013, which revealed that Tula was seemingly worried about something in the month that led up to her death. She was working as a waitress in the Southampton hotel, which she really loved. She enjoyed her job, and then all of a sudden she went quiet and quit. She even received a frightening phone call at her house, and she was so terrified that she moved house and ordered her former landlords not to pass on her contact details to anyone looking for her. Officially, there are no killings linked to the Beast of Jersey, but he did brag to his victims that he had killed before. Was this another one of his red herrings, or was he confessing? And was he confessing to killing Tula? We will never know. And this brings us to the end of today's story. Not an overly long story, but yeah, it's pretty full on, right? The Beast of Jersey. What a douche. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment section below, and please don't forget to hit the like button, turn on the notifications button, and subscribe for more of my videos. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my video. What do you guys think? Do you think that he did hurt those kids in the kids' homes? I think he did. I honestly think he did. Yeah, that's my opinion. You know how you just like get that feeling? I feel like he did. And I apologize for my cat interrupting the video. Bloody hell, Maggie. She's cute. She's really cute. I'll put a picture up. Here you go. There's Maggie. She's a little bugger. I'm back downstairs filming now. I lost my filming room upstairs. Yep. A child took it. One of my children took it. They were like, I need my own room. And I'm like, damn it. Okay. So back down to the basement I am. And there's a cat door down here. So there's a cat door and my cat, she snuck in and gave me a fright. But yeah, that's me for today. I hope we are all doing well. Look after each other. Seriously, like there's so much bad shit that goes on in the world. We got to take care of each other. Oh, and also I was actually going to make a little short about this. So I will still make a short about it. A nasty woman commented on one of my posts saying that I have an egg face and that I should basically narrate my stories, like not be in, physically here talking to you guys. And you know what? You bitch. Why don't you get the hell off my channel? There you go. So everyone just got to see my grumpiness, but you get it. The amount of horrible people that send YouTubers messages is just ridiculous. And it's like, why do they want to like purposely hurt people? I don't get it. One of my other creator friends, her name is Abnormally Caroline. She's awesome. Go check out her channel. She got bullied as well. And it's like, people are so mean. Why do people need to be mean? Like, we're just sitting here, talking about stories that we find interesting, and it's like no need to attack people. Who cares if I've got an egg-shaped face? Fucking hell. Who gives a shit? Seriously. Oh no, I swore. Damn it, this video is not going to get monetized. I just heard my neighbor yelling. Oh my god. He goes, don't forget to lock the house. And she's like, I won't. Because we lock houses now. Yeah. It's not safe anywhere anymore. But yeah, so just a little shout out to all the keyboard warriors out there. how's about you get a life and stop picking on people, because like it's just stupid. And if you think you're gonna hurt me, it's not gonna work, because I've been called a lot worse by a lot better, just saying. So also, if you've got something mean to say, how's about you just don't say anything at all? And if you don't like my face, don't watch my videos. Problem solved. Yay, we all win. Okay, I hope my lovely viewers are having a great day. That chick, she can bugger off. I've blocked her though. Damn it, I blocked her before I put the message out. She's never going to see it. Oh well. Okay, have a great day. Bye. I'm off to film another one.